Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. John Riggio, our pro tennis player, architect, author, and friend, joining us again today, and also our professional of the year. John, thank you so much. We've been talking for years now, and you've had this platform in front of you, not only for your architectural work, but then it became your book. So we're excited to also be a part of that and to learn more about your career. Please say hello to everyone.
Hello, how are you? My name is John Riggio. I usually talk about my architect profession, about my office here in Metuchen, New Jersey, and my work in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But I also like to discuss some stories about the past when I used to play professional tennis. So for the last few weeks, I've been talking about a few things about the book, and I can continue with a few more interesting stories. One of them was a very interesting story about years ago when I was playing tennis. I went from a junior tennis player, which is the age under 18, to the age over 18. And over the age of 18 put me into a whole new world of different things with tennis. One of them was the National Tennis Center they have in Flushing, New York. And since I lived on Long Island, all the tennis was there in New York City. And since I was a top player, they used to come out to play me. My coach, who was also the administrator there at the high school for athletics, he was also the administrative coach for the National Tennis Center
Wow.
in Flushing, New York. So that whole lucky situation made it where they can come to play me. And since I was able to hold my court, winning matches, everything worked out really good. So I think one interesting thing was since I turned the age of 18 and I entered into the new group, there was an interesting situation I started to find out about. One of them was there was a number of players that used to play in this green building on the tennis center. This is before they made all the major renovations there to tennis center. They used to have a very simple green building. They
Mm-hmm.
had some courts outside.
Yep.
And
Remember those.
yes, so the head coach of that group at the National Tennis Center, his name was Harry Hopman. He was from Australia originally. And he already knew about my playing over the years. He liked me. He thought my playing was good. He could tell I was an honest player. And I think he had an idea of for the next generation was to have myself and some other players start to play in the green building.
Yep.
And this idea that he had was very interesting. I didn't really know all of the players that were over there. It wasn't clear what was going on until I started playing in this group. And so the idea of me going there to the green building and then having some other players start to play in there in that area was just starting to get going.
Yep.
So Harry Hopman had this idea, and the idea I think wasn't too bad because of my rating and the description of what I had said in the book about the tennis tournaments I was playing were the top tournaments. There was a number of tournaments they have in ATP and Pro Tennis, and they are sort of ranked by people winning matches. So the people, the best players, the people winning the most matches, the highest matches, move up, and they play in the best tournaments.
Wow.
The so this idea of me moving in there and having the whole thing there at the National Tennis Center starting to move up. Originally, the US Open, for instance, was listed as an amateur tournament. It's written right in the internet. So this idea that he had was really to improve the quality of the tennis, have it get better, and this would start to move in the next generation of players. Unfortunately, Harry Hopman, um, they had this big event in the Caribbean, and he went there with another other managers. Now, the other managers were other people from even different sports, from
Mm-hmm.
baseball, different things like that, and they all went to the Caribbean. And unfortunately, he was poisoned.
Oh, I
And
was not expecting that.
yes, unfortunately, he was poisoned. I think some other coaches might
Ah,
have been poisoned too, but unfortunately, he came down with a really horrible cancer. And I was there to see his last day at the camp. He came over to where we were playing. It was at where I was living with at the high school. Since they were coming to me to play there, he stopped over there and he said his last goodbyes to the group.
hmm.
He got back in his car and he waved goodbye.
Ah,
He looked somewhat emotional, of course. It was his last day there. And he
wow.
went to Florida where he lives. So in
Ah,
Florida, I think the idea also was that he couldn't recover in his health. Unfortunately, I heard just maybe not even a year's time, he did die.
hmm.
And I think one interesting thing that I know about, I don't know if anyone else knows about, was this idea he had of having myself and some other top players start to play at the tennis center and then have those other players that were there have them move on someplace.
Mm-hmm.
From talking with Vitas Gary at the time, they sort of had an idea of maybe even coming down to Lakewood, New Jersey to have their own
Yep.
camp over here. So maybe they would move on and we would move in there. And since the my level of playing and other kids' level of playing were very high, that would continue to the next generation, and we would move up a little. We would keep the pro tennis moving up, no more amateur tennis, and things would improve there. Unfortunately, his dream did not go ahead,
Hmm.
which is a sad story. And I think that's one just notable story I want to just share with you and listeners, people watching. It's a very interesting thing because him passing away so suddenly really changed the whole future. And it
Yeah.
changed the whole future with me now going there and making my own tennis centers. So instead of this idea of him watching, making sure everything's okay, we have a tennis center, including some other players. My playing was so excellent, I was able to just make my own tennis centers, and this is how it started to happen on the court 33. So it was just maybe a couple years later is when I was able to get onto court 33, and they made court 33 with all the different attached courts there, my courts. So they fixed it up. And then, of course, from there, I explained I didn't stay at that location. I moved
Yeah.
over to Alley Pond with my new sponsor. They were able to build a whole Alley Pond Center, which is still there and is doing really good. And that is how the whole thing started. Of course, if you read the book and listen to the videos, you see I had other tennis centers from there moving up further. But I think a lot of those things that no one knows about is the idea of Harry Hopman really having me and some other players
Yeah.
play at the tennis center and having those other players move on someplace. So I think that was interesting. Like some of the players at that tennis center that they were there, they were already playing at Forest Hills, which is a very short drive down the block in Queens. No one even knows about it, but there's
Yeah.
another tennis group at Forest Hills, and they used to play there, but they were forced to move over to Flushing. So from Flushing, they're playing there, and that's how this whole thing started to happen. So I think that is one interesting. I have a biography about Harry Hopman. I could just share it with you now.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is him here. So it shows here that he did die just very shortly after that whole thing took place, which is really unbelievable. And he had his home tennis career. And I think one interesting thing about the thing with the tennis center, tennis administration, I was researching some of the people's names I was telling you about, and a lot of things with tennis administration isn't really written too much in the internet. It's sort of just something that they're, living their work and they're not really necessarily promoting it on the internet. So you're not going to really read too much about it. I think some of the other players that are publicized for their tennis playing, they aren't really publicized for their administrative work. There were some other
Yeah.
players, for instance, the player John Newcomb was the captain of the players at um, the other tennis center there, which is in right down the block there at Forest Hills.
Okay.
So I don't know if you would read that online. I don't think it's a secret. It's nothing bad, of course. I think that's really good. And so he was one player that was considered a top manager. And unfortunately, he came to that problem that he ended up getting poisoned and died.
Wow.
Uh, I think also what had happened to him there was in the news locally in New York, but I noticed they aren't really writing too much about it. I noticed a lot of news stories that it isn't like we go to the library. The news stories, they're on there for a few minutes and then they're gone and you can't find them. So that some things like that were in the news about some managers
Yeah.
doing they were poisoned at the in the Caribbean at that tennis and other managers had that big event. So this was sort of pretty big. I think they were also equating Harry Hopman as my father
Mm-hmm.
in tennis. Because he was the guy who liked me at that
Aw.
time. And so going from a junior into the adult, he had a whole plan for me that I would get into the tennis center. Some other players he had in mind. Can't really remember the list of them. He had a list of some names that would also play in there. And this was his idea of the future for the tennis center. And the other tennis players who were becoming veteran players, he had an idea of having them play someplace else. So this is one very interesting thing that this player, so he shows a lot about his tennis playing, coaching. Okay, there you're back.
Good. Yeah.
So that is one interesting thing about tennis that I was writing a lot of things in my book about was all about different things with the coaches, captains of the teams, and the different managers that they have there. A lot of them they don't have in writing. I think one factor is, unfortunately, from what I've been told when I was playing, was a lot of times the uh, managers, the coaches, of course, trying to get their player in, the other player trying to have them move away, things like that. And of course, they're doing it to cheat on this. I mean, so I think that whole thing with the administrative and things like that aren't put in the spotlight. But since it was so involved with me that I was told about these interesting things after I turned 18 and got into the top group, initially they ranked me 500 to get into the top group. And very quickly moved up over the next 3 years, going all the way to the top of tennis. But I was at 500, and of course, Harry Hopman already knew about my junior playing. He had a direction idea for what I could do, and putting some other players together too. So I think no one really knows about this idea
Yeah.
that the head coach there, he was considered the head coach of the players at the Flushing National Tennis Center. that everyone sees the US Open at, is where he was doing
Of
his
course.
work.
Wow.
And he was replaced with someone else. He was placed with someone else named Bud. And Bud didn't dislike me. He liked me too. He could tell also when he came on the scene that I was an excellent player. And he had an idea also about my playing. His idea of my playing was really not necessarily to stay in any particular location, the green building or anything like that, but it was really more of me getting past a certain level of playing where I would master my game so good that when I'm playing the tournaments, they couldn't stop me. And it turns out his ideas, thinking like that, were successful. That's why. So at um, the adult group, when I was on the court 33, Bud was saying these things to me, and I believe what he was saying. And I think some players just right before that point were wondering why I wasn't playing all of the line of tournaments they had yet. It's because Bud wanted me just to wait till I really am playing
Me
so
too.
strong. They couldn't stop me. And he described it as like a bull that was going to go in and start to win. And he wasn't wrong because when I was able to get past that point, I started winning all those tournaments in the adult over 18 a part of tennis that I went on such a winning streak that they couldn't stop me. I started going up, getting my own tennis centers and all kinds of things like that. Now, what happened as a junior, I did make a long time of playing those tournaments. A lot of it was held very quiet. My administrative coach, Anthony Cambria, him with the tennis shop, with Patrick Mulrooney, and with my brand sponsor, Prince Racket Company. This
Okay,
is
I
before they
remember
went
them.
bankrupt.
Hmm.
This is the original Prince Racket Company before they went
Hmm.
bankrupt. And um, the three of them were able to have me play all those major tournaments, but they kept it very quiet. There was some things of publications with the tennis magazine, of course, lists internally with all of the different lists that I'm number one player, and the other players always saw it and told me, and all kinds of different things happened because of that.
Oh gosh,
And
yeah.
so this whole thing, so that was the junior part of it, and then the so now at the adult point started a whole new look at me because there was a different set of people there.
Yeah.
Now the only thing about the adult thing was yeah, them looking at me, and a lot of times they were looking at my playing and they had no idea that I was even a junior player. Harry Hopman knew I was a junior player. He used to communicate with the administrative coach to get this whole thing going with me moving up through to the adults. So he already communicated with Anthony Cambria. So he
Hmm.
knew my whole history. But the other players, I think even Bud might not have really known I'm a junior because they were just brand new. And I had already passed the point where I'm over 18. So the whole history of my junior tennis is not visible to anyone. They don't know who I am. And I think at that point also when I made it to the adult level, they also had this whole series of physical exams and tests. So they really had no idea about my physical ability, my athletic ability, and they gave me this special test for tennis at that time. And they have a secret name for what it's called. It has a name to it. It's this athletic test. And I came out to number one in all of the players they've had. So I was went right up to the number one player, and this caused a big shake with a lot of the top players there. Because of course, with the players, maybe they had ideas of hoping I would go away. I wouldn't really make it. I'd lose matches. They could always stop matches, do all kinds of things. But what happened was, since I scored number one on this athletic test, it caused a big problem for them. And This was very interesting. So the first they knew I'm a top player, moving up. Then when they got the numbers from my athletic test that they gave me, it sort of got rid of that idea that maybe they were wrong about me, that I wasn't going to make it, that I wasn't a great player. But it wasn't true. My numbers with the athletic test were really the number one of all those tennis players that you see on television, people playing US Open, things like that. So what happened is from that that really helped that I had the number one scores. And I think that was something that's really just interesting to know about. I did put that in my book describing the whole thing with the athletic test. I think one interesting thing about the athletic test, just to give you an idea, the athletic test is really based on just like a tennis court, which is only like 10 yards by 10 yards. And that is the ability to move around in that space is really where your athletic ability is. They don't test you to run a mile. It's really just within that 10 yards by 10 yards of space that there's really where the athletic ability is. The athletic ability to move side to side, jump forward, back, all kinds of things like that were part of the test. And I already knew that those scores were pretty good. Just by chance, I think over the years they always test kids, and those particular parameters of athletic ability, I was always pro ability. It wasn't a surprise to me. So when they gave me this comprehensive test of all the different things like that within the short distance of a tennis court, I was able to score number one with it, and they were really amazed. But I think it got rid of any doubt in their mind that whoever was telling them, say Harry Hopman, was telling me that this, new kid is playing and we're all gonna go play him and everything like that. Got rid of those ideas that it was a joke. They realized it was true. I was able to play really good. And I think this is also at the time with my tennis racket breaking. And unfortunately, I think some of the root cause of the tennis rackets breaking were some players having rackets that were illegal, and the ball was going illegally fast,
Yep.
going faster than I mean, I think from some people's perspective, maybe at that time Vitas Gerulaitis wasn't particularly looking at my playing. He was the captain under Harry Hopman.
Got it.
And since he was the captain under Harry Hopman, he was particularly looking, and he could tell that my hitting the ball was about the fastest he's seen in tennis, legally. I think over the years after that, and maybe even before that, some players had an illegal racket strung to 73 pounds that could hit the ball faster. But they always, as soon as we caught that problem, it was disqualified. So I think my tennis hitting was also seen as the fastest of hitting the ball
Wow.
legally, and they know I was playing legally, but I had all legal tennis rackets. I think a lot of those rackets you could even just buy off the shelf of a good quality pro shop. They'd have those, and so that was one interesting thing. And I think so. Harry Hopman was there at the early part of my transition to an adult, but unfortunately, he took a sudden end, and that was really sad.
Yeah.
And so I did witness his last day there, him saying goodbye, saying he was heading over to Florida, and that was really sort of sad. And I think that one important thing is that his passing on really did make it where his dream and idea of changing that whole thing with the green building and the tennis center
Mm-hmm.
was really a very interesting thing. I think I might have maybe the only one that really knows about it, that can talk about it. And that whole big manager conference unfortunately led to him getting sick, which is really sad. I don't think a lot of people know about that. And that was a really interesting thing. And so I think that whole thing, and then just by chance when I was there on court 33, just a few years later, They decided to completely renovate that whole tennis center,
Amazing. It looks
and
so beautiful now.
so that again also changed this whole thing of the green building as getting demolished. Court 33 ends up getting paved over, and the whole thing changes over there. And then I just went and took my own path with my sponsors,
Yep.
and I think that was really good. So whatever's going there on there at the tennis center was really just they're doing something on their own. And then I think just talking to say like the Australian team and some other people, they told me that they don't really like going over there by the tennis center what the green building was over there. It wasn't really, they didn't feel safe.
Safe. Yeah.
So
Well,
that camp of players, and particularly the Australian players, were playing over Forest Hills,
mm-hmm.
where they had John Newcomb as the captain,
Wow.
and they had some administrative people there, and so they were playing in the wrong camp over there. And I think one interesting thing, like I had said before, is I think someone probably wonder how does all the camps keep together? They have something called the tour, and the tour of tennis is they have administrators arrange matches with different players. They all know their rankings secretly, no one can see it.
Yeah.
And they have a whole thing of different players playing each other. So that's why I played so many
Hmm.
different players. The other players, of course, played many matches also. And they get a good idea of playing tennis. The one advantage I had, like I had said a number of times, was I had the advantage of winning most of my matches. So they had to come to my match.
Got it.
And I didn't have to go over to their match. So I didn't have to travel around. And a lot of the administration of the league was over there in New York City. So since a lot of the administration of the league was in New York City, a lot of the players from Europe, they have big camp in Paris and other
Yep.
locations, they all come down to New York City to play, and a lot of different areas there in Europe, Australia, and the Pacific team later on all came down to play me too over
Mm.
in New York. So I think
And
that was
John, I'm
one of my
sorry,
big
I have to
advantages.
go. I just can't. But we are over time. We're at 30 minutes. I have to go to the next guest. I'm sorry. I know we got a late
It's
start, but I
okay.
kept you on to make sure you got your full time. How do we contact you?
Sure, you can go on to my Facebook page. I have John Riggio Pro Tennis Player. And from my professional work, of course, you can take a look at that at www.johnriggio.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.